Joining us now to help piece it all together is PJ Crowley, former U.S. State Department spokesperson. He served under President Barack Obama from 2009 to 2011. Thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you.
From your experience at the State Department, how are your former colleagues discussing the situation on the Korean Peninsula with the DPRK? Because the U.S. seems to be consistently downplaying the threats, but what's really going on behind the scenes?
Well, I think there's a calculation here of, is there anything new? And of course, from a U.S. standpoint, the only person to have personally met Kim Jong-un is the basketball player Dennis Rodman. So there's still a lot that is unknown about Kim Jong-un, and in particular, who does he listen to within his inner circle. And then secondly, obviously, what also is new in this is we have a brand new president, President Park, in South Korea. So, you have two leaders who have not gone through, this kind of cycle of provocation before.
Secretary of State John Kerry will be visiting Asia later on this week. China, South Korea, and Japan. And at any moment, the DPRK could conduct a test, launch a missile. What if it happens while he is over there? What type of conversations will be taking place between Kerry and his counterparts in Beijing, Tokyo, and Seoul?
Well, it obviously will add great urgency, to that discussion, and clearly, particularly with respect to Japan and South Korea. In that context, the first thing that John Kerry will have to do, and I think he's planning to do it anyway, is to reassure both countries that the United States, as part of their standing security alliance, will defend not only U.S. interests in the region, but those of our allies as well. It will also change the tone of the discussion in Beijing, because while no country yet is assured of the same kind of influence, China, for example, had fairly significant influence with Kim's father, less so with the younger Kim, but nonetheless, China is best positioned to be able to send a stern message that, with hope, North Korea will listen to. So I think that will certainly add urgency to the discussions we'll have in the region.
But will it add pressure to maybe do something or respond quickly or in a faster manner?
Well, I think that always obviously depends on if there's something fired, a missile fired, where does it land? How close to Japan, for example? How much concern does that generate? I think one of the great risks here is a change in calculation in South Korea. South Korea has tended to use a phrase, turn the other cheek, in the past. I don't think that's going to happen this time. So what you have more than anything else is an elevation of risk, that if North Korea, through some sort of miscalculation, fires directly on South Korea is going to fire back. And then, where does that dynamic lead? Obviously in dangerous directions.
Well, and that being said, there always seems to be added tension, more rhetoric anytime the U.S. and South Korea hold joint military exercises. It seems like it's a little bit different this time. It keeps getting ratcheted up. Is this situation more dangerous, or is there something that needs to be paid attention to? Should we worry about Kim Jong-un?
Well, one of the reasons for the military exercises is obviously there is a message being sent to Pyongyang. There's also an important message being sent, to Tokyo and to Seoul, which is we are prepared to defend, our shared interests in the region. And that's important because, obviously, one of the great questions here is will, in fact, North Korea agree to give up its nuclear weapons? It's something that the United States wants, China wants, and others who are part of the six-party process. At some point, if it's clear that North Korea is not going to give up its nuclear weapons, how does that change calculations elsewhere in the region? For example, South Korea might say, well, then we need nuclear weapons. That might change the dynamic in Tokyo, and that in turn goes back to Beijing. So now you have, a permanent rise in the level of risk in the region. I wouldn't call it a nuclear arms race, but certainly, increase in nuclear weaponry in the region. And how does that change everyone's calculations? So it's in everyone's interest, through a combination of defensive measures as well as diplomacy, to see if we can find a way, to de-escalate this crisis.
All right, PJ Crowley, we appreciate your insight as always. We'll just have to wait and see. Interesting next few days ahead.
Thank you.